Hey guys, it's Camus, and welcome to Chess Beauty 65. At the end of Chess Beauty 64, we left you with this position. This is white to play and draw. So if you're seeing this for the first time, why don't you give it a try? And it's always more fun if you beat your head against the wall first before seeing the often miracle solutions that the problem or endgame composer has provided. Okay, so no points for the first move. King to d8. Obviously, in this position, white's only trump is his advanced pass pawn. Okay, but now what does black do about it? Okay, he can try bishop to e6, guarding the queening square, but it's not enough because after queens, bishop takes queen, king takes bishop. Rook versus bishop is simply a draw, unless white is really stupid and manages to get his king backed into the wrong colored square corner. Okay, so that's not adequate. After king to d8, also rook to c6 fails for much the same reason. Queens takes, and then bishop versus bishop is a clear draw. So after king to d8, his only move really is rook to d6. And now white will play king to e7. He's attacking the rook. And so what does the rook do? Well, he can go to rook to e6 check. But then after king to d8, we're just repeating the position. So he has to try in this position after king to e7, rook to c6. And that's guarding the queening square, at least temporarily. Now white's not going to part with that pawn without a fight. So king to d7 is fairly obvious. And now what does black do? Well, he could try something like rook to a6, but it doesn't work because after queening, bishop to e6 check. This was black's idea to skewer the king. King to d8, bishop takes c8, king takes c8, and we're left with that rook versus bishop draw. So instead, he goes to rook to h6, and the point behind this move is that he's still threatening the skewer defense, but he's attacking the bishop. And this has a similar idea, using the bishop skewer and e6 to defend against the queen. But it attacks the bishop on h4, which means that black is going to pick up some extra material, unlike the variation with rook to a6. So, alright, so what does white do about this threat? Now, this is the crux of the endgame study right here. So if you've come this far, or haven't come this far, and this would be a good time to figure out what white should do. Well, he shouldn't play queen, because bishop to e6 check, as we mentioned before, black wins. King to d8, bishop to c8, and bishop to g5, trying to get away from the attack of the rook, but the rook just renews the attack with rook to g6, and if he goes to bishop to h4, then black can rescue his bishop, and he's essentially a rook up, and this should be an easy win. Similarly, after king to d8, bishop takes c8, he can try bishop to e7, but rook to h7 leads to the same problem. In fact, there's no safe place for the bishop to go. In this position, after the queen, let's take the queen. If he goes to g3, then rook to g6 attacks the bishop again. The king takes him on f2 and e1. The rook takes him on f6. So e7 is the only other move. So that's white's problem. He's got to guard against this variation. And so after rook to h6, he comes up with the pretty stunning bishop to f6. What is the point of this move? Well, it's actually kind of a triple purpose move. It lures the rook forward in the event of rook takes f6, and we'll see that variation in a minute. Its primary purpose is to block the threatened check of the bishop on e6. And it has a third purpose too. It's blocking the rook from getting down to h8. Now, what does black do in this position? Well, he can't play rook takes f6 because we simply queen. Bishop takes e6. And now we're attacking the rook. So if the bishop takes the queen, we take the rook. And this is the point of luring the rook forward that we mentioned. So after bishop to f6, can't play rook takes f6, but he has a clever idea. He plays bishop to b1 with the idea of renewing the skewer threat on f5. White plays king to e6. And now you can see that the bishop being on f6, as we mentioned before, stops the rook from getting to h8, so he can't guard that square. It's just threatening to queen here. So he could try bishop to a2 check, but it doesn't work out. King to e5, rook to h5 check, king to d6, rook to d5, king to c6, rook to d1. I mean, what else does he have? Queens, skewers, king to b7, rook to c8, takes, and then we've got that straight draw. So after king to e6, the only move he's got is rook to h5. And now White plays a repetition of his brilliant idea. He plays bishop to g5 with pretty much the same idea as the previous bishop move. So again, if he plays rook takes g5, we queen, he skewers, we attack both pieces, and that's going to be a draw. So after bishop to g5, he tries rook to h8, trying to guard against the queen. But now our very useful bishop finds something else to do. He plays bishop to d8. And now Black's only defense here is to renew the skewering threat. Well, he could try rook to h6, but after bishop to f6, rook to h5, bishop to g5, rook takes g5. This is similar play as we saw before. Okay, so after bishop to d8, rook to h5, renewing the skewer is really all he's got. Bishop to g5, we're repeating the position, and now Black has nothing better than to go into this other variation that we looked at before. Everything else repeats. If he goes to h8, then we just play bishop to d8 again. So he has to try this, which we looked at earlier. Bishop to a2 check, king to d7, rook to h8, queens, skewers, takes, and then this rook versus bishop draw. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that study. This was from Joseph Peckover. He was born in 1896 and died in 1982. I could not find any images of him, so kind of surprising, because in the biography I looked up, it said he was actually the best known of all of American chess composers in the early 20th century. He was born in England but emigrated to Canada. I think he moved to New York and ran a problem periodical there. And he composed 100 endgame studies. He worked as a freelance portrait artist, and he specialized in colored pencil portraits of children. And that's the sum total of the available information I was able to find out about this guy. But it's a very nice study. And now we'll look ahead to Chess Beauty 66. This is White to play and win. So good luck, and we'll see you on the next edition. Thank you.